people in our prisons that are wrongfully convicted, maybe even more. If there are 2.5 million people in prison, 10% could be wrongfully convicted. Our concern right now is the district attorneys in New York and the elected officials who have not stepped up. The district attorney conviction review units have been abysmal. They've promised a lot, but they haven't produced, especially in Brooklyn. Manhattan was a travesty. Cy Vance ran on wrongful convictions, and in the approximately 10 years that he's been in, he did nothing. There's no effective wrongful conviction unit. There's a man named Danny Rincon who's serving a 158-year sentence, and we're trying to get him out. Brooklyn has been a huge disappointment. It started with a fanfare with all these cases. They overturned under Ken Thompson a number of cases. Eric Gonzalez seems scared, the DA in Brooklyn, to overturn cases. He's overturned 6 or 7 in the last 4 years. The Bronx DA has 25 to 30 cases, they told me, pending. They have exonerated 4 people in 4 years. Okay? Queens DA Melinda Katz has stepped up. She met with us before she was elected. She opened up a wrongful conviction unit. They have exonerated or overturned 8 convictions in 18 months. We applaud them, but we're not going to give them an A. They're going to get a B for effort, and we hope that they add more people. We need Eric Adams and the elected officials to step up and help us and help an independent conviction review unit, because there are cases in limbo. You're seeing the families of the people that have been waiting. Thank you. I'd like to introduce Nick Malinowski, who's from Boca, New York, and all the advocate groups. That please identify yourself. I will ask anybody that comes to the mic from the families, say your name, say how long you've either been in prison or your family members in prison. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So as Lonnie said, just run through our agenda for today. We have 3 things that we need to talk about. The DAs in New York City are doing next to nothing to address a crisis of wrongful convictions in New York City. Next to nothing. 2, we need the state legislature, city council, the mayor. We need people to step up and address the issue. 3, anybody that's running for office in the state of New York, whether that's attorney general, governor, whatever, needs to address this issue, needs to engage with these families and take steps to improve what's going on. With that, I'll hand it to Derek. We're going to hear first from families with current cases, then we'll hear from exonerees, and then we'll hear from organizations supporting the issues.
Good morning. Good morning. What do we want? Justice. What do we want? Justice. What do we want? Justice. If we don't get it, what we going to do? Shut it down. We're here today, all of us standing in unity because we have a problem. The problem is the criminal justice system is treating us wrong. We don't stand here because we want to be here. That's right. We're here demanding that elected officials do their job. That's right. Over $300 million was spent on wrongful conviction in the last few years, yet the mayor hasn't said one word about wrongful conviction. Come on. That's right. We don't like that in this city. That's right. We got prosecutors doing favors for lawyers they like. Right? Cases are being reversed because we like the lawyer. Not the facts of the case. The evidence means nothing. That's right. We're here because we have been abused by the system. That's right. You're going to hear from exonerees who spent decades and decades in prison. You'd be doing anything with their lives, but they're standing here saying the system must change. That's right. That's what they're saying. Right? We're here for that purpose. We want elected officials to know that when you say you're progressive, there's no progress for us. There's no progress for us. As we stand here today, there's some black young lady who had a car accident, killed the bicyclist, 4-year-old child. They sent her to prison. When the law says, if you have an accident, you don't go to jail. It's an accident. Just a few months ago, the appellate division in Acevedo affirmed that position. Yet Tim Goff, a prosecutor in Brooklyn, who abuses his power over and over again, he was the same prosecutor in Acevedo, but the appellate division told him you can't do that. Get it to this young lady. We are being abused in the beginning when we're arrested. If you have a prior crime, they bumping your charges up to the highest degree of law. Ernest Taylor, an apartment building that's abandoned, a drug addict. What are you doing? Trying to get high. They locked him up and gave him 25 years to life for being a drug addict, trespassing in the building. These abuses must stop.
Where is it? What's
Brooklyn.
Identify yourself.
Brooklyn. My name is Trevor Hamilton. No, I didn't say that. I spent 21 years in prison for a crime I did not commit. I was exonerated in 2015 by Ken Thompson, who had a different prosecutor office than it now exists. He was a fair man, an honorable man. Whether you liked him or not, he exonerated 22 people in a short span of time. We don't have that right now in Brooklyn. What we have in Brooklyn now is deception and lies. We have a district attorney who happens to be a friend of mine that I like, but will tell me one thing out one side of his mouth and do something else out of the other side. We demanded him today to put an independent person from the defense in that CRU unit, or we don't want you there anymore. Like, we're not here to play games. We're not here to play games. Right? We're here to make demands on our elected officials. Eric Adams, we love you. We asking that you lead in this department. We asking that you come in and lead. These families are here suffering.
That's right.
Rory and Giuliani, a person who stood with me before Charles Hines' office, who was abusing us, former DA of Brooklyn. She stood with me to get that man removed because her son was in prison unjustly. He still remains in prison despite the fact that he's innocent. She wrote a letter to the parole board to get me out. I'm here to demand that her son be released.
That's right.
It's time now. It's time.
17 long years.
And you'll hear from her later. But we have the family, a lot of families, Raymond Aaron, Joe Santos, a lot of them you're going to hear from. I'm going to let them begin to talk about their stories. But I'm here to support them. I'm here to tell all the elected officials there's no progress unless we progress.
That's right.
So next up, we're going to call Rory and Giuliani. Then I next.
Doreen, identify yourself.
Yes. Hi, I'm Doreen Giuliano, and my son, John Juca, has been in prison for 17 long years. Wrongfully. He's an innocent man, and we've proved it over and over again. John's case was in the CRU, and they stated in their report that they thoroughly investigated his case, and their conclusion was that John did indeed get a fair trial. All along, they were sitting on a tape recording.
In my case.
That exonerated John. It was exculpatory, favorable to John. Yet they had the audacity to say that they were thorough in their investigation. It took 15 years for this tape to come to light. And they were thorough? John is suffering. His family is suffering. Matthew, his brother, is suffering. And all we ask for is a fair trial. That's what we want, to prove his innocence. Anna Siga-Nicolazzi, the ADA on this case, hid this recording because to her what was important was the conviction. And to this day, she continues to brag about her 35 straight wins. To her, what was important was winning, not the truth.
Free John Juca. Free John Juca. Free John Juca. Free John Juca.
Gerald Vaughn, who just got out of prison.
Trevor Vaughn is up next. Bronx conviction.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome
Listen,
home.
thank you. Yo, y'all got to vote. Y'all got to vote. All right? These leaders y'all putting in, just because they look like us, don't mean they're with us. All right? Don't be fooled.
That's right.
Okay, my name is Trevor Vaughn, and I'm from the Bronx. I spent 5.5 years wrongfully convicted, okay, under Darcel Clark. It's 2021, y'all, and while we still having the same conversation, all right, we have an African-American district attorney in the Bronx. So we got the same injustices happening to people of color. Darcel Clark march at our parade, the African American Day Parade. You want to come to our neighborhoods and talk about
gun violence. But what about the violence that's coming out of your office?
That's right. What about that?
You're putting felonies on innocent people. You taking the fathers out of the homes. No wonder the crime has risen in this damn city.
Right.
The men not in the homes.
True.
The only thing I wanted to do, okay, was to raise my family and make my mother proud of me. But Darcel Clark stole that from me. She stole that. But sister, I don't hate you. I hate what you are allowing to take place under your watch as a district attorney. You have tremendous suffering upon innocent. Should be more in tune to the way she's dealing with black and brown people. Anyone who has the power to fix this criminal justice system and chooses not to wants the black and brown community to fail. Scrutiny is needed in the Bronx District Attorney's Office. Darcel Clark, my name is Trevor Vaughn, and I'm requesting a seat at your table, along with Eric Adams, the incoming Bronx Borough President, and the governor. And just in case you don't have any room for me, I brought my own chair. Thank you.
Keisha Sims, her husband Anthony Sims, has been in prison for decades.
Free Anthony Sims.
Keisha?
Free Anthony Sims.
Good morning, everybody.
Come over here.
I want to start by thanking the organizers for today, Ronnie, Wrongful, Derek, for advocating for the people who don't have voices. Without them, we have no voice. We can't do anything without your support, so thank you for that. As mentioned, my husband has been incarcerated for 24 years for a crime that he didn't commit. And I don't think that the DA's office, the detectives, the judges understand the weight of what that does to an entire family. It's not just them that goes to prison, it's an entire family.
Yeah.
And I challenge them to just put themselves in our shoes for once. Because if they did, if it was their parents or sons and daughters, husbands and wives, they would fight just like we're fighting. They would understand why we are standing here today. Our case is still pending, so I won't go so much into it. You can go to freeanthonysims.com to learn more about it. But I will just touch on the struggle of our families. And when I mean my family, I mean all of our families. So let's go through a day of a visit. We get up at the crack of dawn to travel 2, sometimes plus hours to see our loved ones. We have to look at them, have no rights, and they're being told what to do at every second of the day. We're only allowed to give them a brief hug after not seeing them for weeks at a time. We sit 2 tables in between us. We can't hold their hand, we can't slip a kiss, we can't do anything, right? So then we go through these hours and it flies by, and then we have to say goodbye. It's only a brief hug at the end of the visit. And then you have to leave there with part of your heart left in prison. Only we know what that feels like. They don't. And they don't care to know because all they care about, like she said, is winning. That's more important. Right?
Free Anthony Sims. Free Anthony Sims.
So thank you for your support.
Free Anthony Sims. Free Anthony Sims.
Dan Court is here. Our assemblyman has been one of the leaders in wrongful convictions and criminal justice reform. And then after that, we'll have the family of Aaron Wayne.
Thank you, Lonnie, and to so many of the advocates and my friends. It's good to be here under these difficult circumstances. The numbers really tell the human stories behind you. 321 wrongful convictions, the third worst in the country, but that's really the tip of the iceberg. Through decades of trial by ambush, extorted bail practices, the numbers are truly much, much higher, probably triple that. We're here to call out the district attorneys, but that's not enough. We know through history, it doesn't matter who the district attorneys are, we can't rely on the district attorneys to do what the legislature, the people's representatives, should be doing for ourselves. The most significant thing we can do next year on criminal justice, I believe, in Albany, it's not just because it's my piece of legislation, is to change the wrongful conviction rules. The Teager case from 2018 really distorts justice by saying something is more important than innocence. Nothing is more important than innocence. Nothing is more important than innocence and equity. So we're here to fight for what is right, to put pressure on the district attorneys as we must, but none of that takes away from the responsibility of the legislature to fix what it is they allowed to become broken.
That's right. Thanks, Dad. Family of Wayman Aaron.
Good morning. I thank all of the families and friends from the wrongfully convicted for being the heart, the soul, and the face of all the wrongfully convicted families. I'm here on behalf of my...
Speak up a little bit, sir.
I'm here on behalf of my very dear friend, Wayman Aaron, who has been wrongfully convicted. Today is November 16th. Today is November 16th. Ironically, today is the day the murder happened that Wayman Aaron was conveniently convicted of, who he has not been looked at or discussed with what was wrongfully done to him. This is not what he has done. This is not who he is. I stand today here with his wife and his friends and family, showing and trying to let everybody see that this was wrong. This was something that should not have happened to him. There's nothing that they can prove. We have an officer that was at a bus stop waiting to possibly go home after a long shift, who heard gunshots and ran into the area of the gunshot, seeing a light-skinned male, ended up being an eyewitness, showing, proving that it was a light-skinned male running from the scene, from where the shots were heard. This is a dark-skinned male. I know they all think that we look alike, but there's no wrong in color. This was a light-skinned male. Along with, there was a time when he sat at a lineup, and in the lineup, they did not pick the seat that Wayman Aaron was in. Wayman Aaron was sitting in seat number 2. The witness picked seat number 6.
Wow.
That ended up being the witness that shut the case down. These are people that maybe they had in their pockets in this precinct. We have a problem with this. They find people that are on drugs, that have issues, that have cases, that they pay. However, this is our assumption, this is what we believe, because we can't prove it. However, it is wrong. This was not him.
Free Wayman Aaron.
Not in seat number 6. He was seat number 2.
Okay.
So today I say we stand together, people.
All right.
We do this together, people.
All right.
We don't leave each other's side.
That's right.
We walk together. We stand strong.
That's right.
We're strong in numbers.
Come on.
We're strong in numbers.
That's right.
And today we ask that they all be released.
Right.
All of them.
That's right.
No way, no more. Take a number. Have a seat. Like my man said before, I got my own seat.
I know that's
bring
right.
it today.
That's right.
And I ask you to just stand with us and make this happen.
Free Wayman Aaron. Wayman Aaron. Free Joe Sanchez. Joseph Sanchez. Free Joseph Sanchez. Free Joe Sanchez.
Good afternoon, everyone. My son, Joseph Sanchez, is innocent.
Right.
He was wrongfully convicted because the Bronx DA, David Greenfield, concealed evidence, claimed that the evidence was lost, could not be found before trial, during the trial, or anything. But 4 years later, new Bronx ADA comes in, and guess what? He finds the evidence, all of it, things that should have been turned over before trial, which is a violation, a Brady violation.
Right.
Okay? And not only that.
Brady versus Maryland. Let's go.
That's right. But do you think they turned it over? No. That was 4 years ago. We're still waiting for that evidence to be turned over.
Yes, we
and
are.
to be tested.
Right.
4 years. In the meantime, he's been sitting in a prison cell for 14 years, wrongfully convicted. Why? Because no evidence was found to prove him guilty. They had one eyewitness. That's it. And upon private investigation and private forensic testing, we found out there was more than one person involved. And the witness was involved. But you think the ADA would turn around, especially Greenfield. He was too busy doing his convictions. He needed to raise his rate. Okay? And he was looking at retirement. Retirement. Which now he's living off a pension for you don't know how many cases of his have been overturned. Why? For the same thing. Conceals evidence, loses it, can't find it. Nothing. But 4 years ago, they found it. 4 years ago. I understand there was COVID, there was this. 4 years, okay? We're talking about 4 years, and you still haven't turned over now one piece of evidence? Nothing? No testing? If you can't test it, give it to us. Give it to his attorney. We'll test it. We'll test it. We'll find a way to test it. Exactly. Meanwhile, he's patiently waiting in a cell 14 years. This boy entered when he was 21. When are you going to wait? Till he's 50 to let him out and then bring out the evidence to test it? By then, I'll be dead and I'm his mother. Okay? Set and go. Wrongfully convicted. Give us the cell.
Free Joseph Sanchez. Free Joseph Sanchez. Good morning. I just want to begin by just thanking each and every one of y'all for being with us today. My name is Kevin Smith. I'm the Executive Director of Families and Friends of the Wrongfully Convicted, Inc. I served 27 years in prison for a crime I did not commit. Since my release from prison, I've been petitioning to the Brooklyn District Attorney's Conviction Review Unit to overturn my conviction. My plea for justice has fell on deaf ear. My petition laid in their office for over 6 years without a determination. That didn't just stop there. I just went to the court and a Brooklyn judge denied me for being poor. What do you mean by that, Rennie? She told me I took too long presenting the evidence to her court, despite my overwhelming evidence of innocence. The Brooklyn District Attorney Conviction Review Unit, which was once seen as the model throughout the country under the late Ken Thompson, where he exonerated 22 people in just 2 years, is now seen as a disgrace. Eric Gonzalez, you had went on record and stated that you was going to follow the legacy of Ken Thompson. We are asking that today that you put Brooklyn District Attorney's Conviction Review Unit back on map. The victims of Brooklyn are calling on you to do justice, to do what is right. We demand do not allow aspirations. Do not allow the aspirations of pursuing a political office to stand in the way of giving us the justice that's due. I'm home, but we have family members, we have brothers and sisters in prison who are languishing away. We got the families here. We're not here because we just want to stay in the cold. We're here because something is wrong with the system, and we're asking that you guys straighten it out. Thank you.
We ain't asking nothing, we demanding it. We demanding it. We don't ask things no more. We demand.
And then family and
Hello, how you doing? My name is John Devine G. Whitfield, and I served 25 years in prison for a homicide I clearly didn't do. My case has been pending in the Conviction Review Unit for like 4.5 years, and in the Kings County District Attorney's Conviction Review Unit. and it's I don't know what to say, man. It's like no matter what we do and how we go about doing it, it's standard operating procedure for them to delay. They giving you no explanation. I mean, from what I understand, they did go around the country finding finding some of the old witnesses. This is what they told our attorneys, and they questioned people and such and this and that. But still, it's like it's just excessively dragging on. And all we're asking is that give us the due diligence that we're entitled to.
That's right.
The law of due process just simply says to give you a fair opportunity to be heard in a meaningful and in a fair and reasonable fashion. That's all we're asking for. And it seems like the simplest things that we ask for, we just can't get. Because let me tell you something, spending that amount of years in prison for something you didn't do, you cannot fathom the pain, suffering, the anguish, the agony, the hell that is all about. So imagine being in there, waking up every morning, asking yourself, why am I here? How the hell did I get here? And it hurts. And I don't want to get too emotional, but we got to do something. And the only way we can do it, we got to come together and we got to make our voices heard. We got to stand together and we got to demand and we got to hold people's feet to the fire.
Right.
Plain and simple. We got to demand and say, listen, if you're not going to do what you say you're going to do, you out of office. Plain and simple. And with that, I'm going to go back to the camera situation because I'm doing multiple jobs here.
That's right. It can happen, brother.
I just want to say in Brooklyn, cases, estimated 50 cases, victims of Detective Scarcella. And Derek Hamilton, Shabak Shakur were victims of Scarcella, Kevin Smith, and those cases are still there languishing. Nobody is doing anything about those. Scarcella goes to court with a big smile on his face, and the Brooklyn DA has not condemned him.
And if I can just say something before Shabak gets up, he's a co-founder of Family and Friends of Wrongly Convicted. We were in prison together in Auburn. We collectively came together, put a team together, and what we actually did was result in this, right? We contacted Lonnie, we harassed Lonnie until we came to City Hall with our families, and exposed what was doing to us as a people. So I want to introduce my brother, man, Shabak Shakur.
My name is Shabak Shakur. I did 27 and a half years for a crime I didn't commit. Nearly 3 decades of my life spent behind bars for a crime I had nothing to do with. Right? Like you just said, when we was in prison, we worked as law clerks in the law library.
Yep, we
were able to see that this wasn't an anomaly. It wasn't just us. It was a lot of people who were in there for crimes they did not commit. And that gave us the spark to say, okay, we need to start something to make a difference for other people.
Right.
And we started Families and Friends of the Wrongfully Convicted, and thanks to Lonnie, because we was incarcerated. Thanks to Lonnie, who was out here as our advocate to make it, really start it off, right? And the goal, and the families, because literally we started with our families, right? Upon my release and upon our release, we've been doing this every year, right? And I'm here to tell you that we live in a world of virtual reality, where politicians tell us one thing, but the reality is something else.
Totally different.
Right?
About that.
Every year, during election year, we talk to politicians, we sit down at tables with the DAs, the people running for the mayor's office, the governors, the police chiefs. We've talked to everybody in this city. And they tell us all the time that wrongful convictions is a problem they're going to look at. And then once they're elected, they do absolutely nothing.
Nothing changed. Nothing changed.
Carlene is one of the first people that, was part of our crew that really was out here every day fighting for her son and fighting for us. Her son is still incarcerated. You know what I'm saying? It's a majority of the people. Right now, James Jenkins is at a hearing, right, for his freedom, for a case that he is obviously innocent of, right? Another victim of Scarcella, the same person that incarcerated him, me, Kevin Smith, and as a result, 15 individuals have been released that he was responsible for putting in prison, right? Nothing has happened to him. And yet his victims, like James Jenkins, are still fighting to get out of prison right now, right? It's not going to change until we make a change.
There you go.
And the only way that we can make a change is holding politicians accountable. If politicians, here's Sunday Moses, another Scarcella victim. Another exoneree that was a Scarcella victim. 15 individuals so far. Why isn't that man in jail?
Exactly.
He's ruined 15 families' lives. Why isn't he in prison? Why hasn't he been held accountable?
Why is he still getting the pension?
Why is he still getting the pension? Until we realize, until we make these politicians step up and hold them accountable for what they say they're going to do, we are going to continue to have to face these same families.
That's right.
And we're going to continue to be out on these streets.
That's right, right here. Front line.
All we're saying to you right now is we have a whole new bunch of politicians coming into office. I need everybody to be on their doorstep, to be emailing them, to be writing letters to them, to asking them what's going on with the wrongful conviction review unit. Because the reality is, and I'm going to tell you the trick is, they're not here to look at cases to help you get out.
Right.
They're here
I forgot
to look
to
at
mention
cases to figure out how
they can get around it. I meant to say that. They did that in my case. They did that in my case.
A conviction review unit that isn't district attorney run. Because they don't want to admit their errors. We got to get somebody outside of that, an independent counsel to review the case. And until we do that, we're going to continue to have these problems.
That's right.
Here, Merrick Adams. Thanks, Shabaka. Hold on 1 second, Jeff. 1 second. Jeffrey Jeskevis is another hero on the wrongful conviction world. He has the Jeskevis Foundation. I've been with Jeff all around the country to fight cases. It's my honor and pleasure to introduce a hero in this world, y'all. Jeff, right, he's a hero.
My name is Jeffrey Deskovic, and I served 16 years in prison for a murder and rape I did not commit prior to being exonerated through DNA testing. I was arrested when I was 16. I turned 17. I lost a trial shortly after that, and I didn't emerge out from prison until I was 32 years old through DNA testing, which identified the actual perpetrator. My wrongful conviction was caused in large part, by prosecutorial misconduct. There was no conviction review unit in Westchester under the DA that I was convicted under, certainly not under his successor, Janine Pirro. And so I can speak to not having a conviction review unit, which is the same thing as having a conviction review unit that's ineffective and does nothing.
That's right.
Okay, so I do have the Jeffrey Deskovic Foundation for Justice. We have freed 13 wrongfully convicted people. We've helped pass 3 laws as a foundation, and then as part of a larger coalition, which includes many of the advocates today, Derek, families, etc., we were able to pass an additional 6 laws. That's the It Could Happen to You coalition. You know, I'm an attorney as well. You know, I became that after, it's my life calling. And so
Right. Did his thing. Tried to get me to go with him. Couldn't.
So I call on all the district attorneys. You know, we need to have real conviction review units. We're expecting big things from Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg. You know, we need things fixed. In Brooklyn, we need things fixed. In the Bronx and in Queens, yeah, you're getting results, but, you know, what's up with the names of the prosecutors that are committing misconduct that's leading to these reversals? Yeah, you're turning people out. Can we know the names? Is there collegiality there? Why can't more people be hired to speed up the process of freeing wrongfully convicted people? Because I know what it is to be wrongfully imprisoned, and justice delayed, without question, is justice denied.
Right.
Thank you.
I want to acknowledge all the women that's here. We're going to be calling a lot of women up. Donna Hilton's here in the organization. I just want to acknowledge y'all and ask y'all to stand by, waiting on Ms. Grace to come. And I want all the women who's the backbone of our fight. When guys in prison, it's the women that be there. It's the women that goes through the breakdown in the family. So I'm going to call them up soon, and I want them to talk about their experiences. I want everybody to know that while we might be here in the male figure, there's a lot of women. Pamela Smart, 34 years in prison. Right? We want to talk about that. Like how the system is abusing women as well. So we want to call up Antoine Dennis family. We're going to get back to some of the exoneration. John Reed. Antoine Dennis family. Come by.
Thank you, guys.
I want to thank everyone for coming out today. My name is Denise Dennis, and I'm here on behalf of my brother, who was deprived of his constitutional right to due process and the right to a fair trial by the Brooklyn Kings County District Attorney's Office. In 2014, my brother Antoine obtained documented evidence from the Kings County District Attorney's Office that detailed his then attorney, Michael Vecchione, in 1991 was in negotiation with the late Charles J. Hayes of the Brooklyn District Attorney's Office to obtain employment. This took place during the time Vecchione was representing my brother on a murder charge, but took employment within the Brooklyn District Attorney's Office as Executive Chief of the Homicide Bureau, January of 1992. My brother's case was tried in March of 1992, and he was convicted 3 months after Vecchione was gainfully employed by the District Attorney's Office, which was a clear conflict of interest because Vecchione was now the Executive Chief of same Homicide Bureau, where District Attorney Jeffrey Ginsburg was assigned to prosecute my brother's case. In 2015, my brother Antoine was granted a hearing before Brooklyn Supreme Court Justice Sean Day Simpson, where Assistant District Attorney Timothy Gogg, Sarah Cutsberg, Camilla Giuseppe, and Maria John Drago represented the people's case. During these hearings, Assistant District Attorney Camilla Giuseppe and Maria John Drago maintained throughout the whole proceedings that 1, my brother's case trial files were lost and could not be found. 2, his case was not assigned to the Homicide Bureau. Former attorney Vecchione did not have anything to do with this case. Number 3, no assistant district attorneys working under Vecchione's supervision within the Homicide Bureau prosecuted my brother's case. Assistant District Attorney Camilla Giuseppe and Maria John Drago misrepresented the facts during my brother's proceedings when they claimed my brother's case was only assigned to Assistant District Attorney Gerard Kellogg of the Gray Zone Trial Bureau for prosecution. Assistant District Attorney Camilla Giuseppe and Maria John Drago presented no documented evidence during my brother's proceedings to refute his claims and acknowledge before the court trial file documents were lost.
Free Antoine Dennis! Free Antoine Dennis! Free Antoine Dennis!
Free Antoine Dennis!
No justice, no peace!
Justice, no peace.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Carlene, make some room for us.
Good morning, everyone. I want to take the time to thank the organizers for organizing this rally today. And I got the invitation at the last minute, but I was sitting here, I was working on my computer, and I'm like, listen, I said, I was just so fed up saying, like, we've been trying to get these elected officials, getting their attention, you know, to talk about cases and challenges that we're having. And I'm saying, why do we have to keep calling and begging them? They are in office, they serve us, not the other way around.
That's right.
You know,
right.
And we've been sending letters and emails, and it's just crazy, you know. I'm the mother of Donnell Murray. My story is a long story stemming back, so I'm not going to take too much of the time to talk about because we got a lot of stories here today. But I would encourage you from from experiences that we have, instead of me saying get mad or whatever, I said, I'm going to do something about this. You know, I'm going to put my work into this because my son has been wrongfully convicted. He's in the feds now, and it's just, they sentenced him to 19 years, wrongfully convicted him, and I'm fighting. I'm by myself. My family I've lost a lot of family, but that's not going to stop me because I am not going to go to my grave with my son incarcerated. And he's coming home. And what I did was I started a petition, and everybody that got their cell phones here, please download innocentappeal.org. Okay, this is a petition site that we're starting because there are so many people who don't have family or friends that's incarcerated that can't be a voice for them to fight for them. And so we are going to be that voice. So please, I encourage you to go to innocentappeal.org. If you know of anyone, let them know about it. They can start a petition. We're doing some fundraising to help them because enough is enough. Okay? But I am hoping that today that these elected officials will hear that we are here, we're not going anywhere, and you are going to start meeting with us, okay? Because the people that are most impacted are the people who can make the changes, not you, because they're so disconnected from the reality, okay? And when you see some of them, they are so busy into photo op pictures with celebrity people who are not even in there, and not even in their towns with them, not even supporting them, but they want to be in those ops. So when we sit up here and we're the constituents in your area and you ignore us, that's a big problem for me because I'm not going anywhere.
Right.
Okay. Anthony, any of the advocate organizations, please come up also. Any of the great work that they've done over the years, just please join us up front.
Hi, I'm Anthony Pitbull. I was wrongfully convicted for rape and murder of a young girl. The prosecutor in my case refuses to acknowledge that, and it resulted in the true perpetrator committing further crimes, which actually rendered him criminal assistance. Here, I just want to say I support everyone here. I think you're all heroes. I think prosecutors should know in the city that if you take one step towards us, we will take 3 towards you. But if you do not, we will expose you and find somebody who will.
Come on now.
Yep.
Get rid of.
I want to add something. You know, Anthony was exonerated, and his co-defendant, Andrew Krivak, is a Deskovic Foundation client. And right now, he's awaiting retrial. So get a load of this. All the evidence which exonerated Anthony, which resulted in Anthony being compensated for the 20 years he did, applies to my client, Andrew Krivak. And despite that, his case has gone on for an additional 5 years.
Wow.
Yeah, a ton of evidence pointing to a serial rapist who has the same MO as how the victim was found in Andy's case. And if all that wasn't enough for you, the same polygraphist that coerced the false confession out of me did the same exact thing to Andrew Krivak, and he made that claim long before I was ever exonerated. So he didn't come up with that at the 11th hour, and yet despite that, he's home on house arrest with an ankle monitor pending a retrial up in Putnam County, New York.
No justice, no peace.
No justice, no peace.
No justice, no peace.
No peace. No justice, no peace.
No justice, no peace.
No justice, no peace. It is never too late to correct an injustice. Never too late.
Any of the advocacy organizations, please identify yourself. You've worked so hard. Please come up to the mic. And then the families, any other families, just identify yourself.
My name is Alfonso Riley, and I'm a paralegal case handler in the Wrongful Conviction Unit at the Legal Aid Society. And before working in the Legal Aid Society, I spent 31 years in prison. Right, and 30 of those years I worked in the law library, and I worked with many of the men you see out here who were eventually exonerated, and I've worked with many of the men who have been wrongfully convicted and who still languish in those prisons, right, who deserve to be out here now. And I want to thank all the advocates out here. I want to thank the organizers of this gathering. I want to thank the family and friends of the wrongfully convicted who have brought us all together, because we have to demand from these district attorneys proper justice, proper investigations, like I said, I work for the Wrongful Conviction Unit, and we fight every day. We see these requests existing with these district attorney's office over 5 years, 6 years, and they're saying they're investigating. There's no investigation that takes 5, 6 years. It takes 6 months to convict the people. They have all the facts of the case.
Yeah, excuse me.
Right?
Yeah.
So there's
trying to film
nothing
him,
that really
film
takes
him
that
live.
long. I refuse to call them conviction review units at this point. To me, they're conviction protection units.
That's right.
Because they
it
exist to just maintain those investigations. Right. So we have to be out here. We want to urge those district attorneys, right, to properly investigate those cases. Even the ones that's not represented by lawyers, you have guys, men and women, write those district attorney's office, and their letters never skip the style of thing. It's only those ones that who's given representation by attorneys. Those are the ones you see out. But there's many more out there, and there's many more that deserve to be heard. Right? They out here they're fighting us tooth and nail when they claim they're representing justice. But when you keep an innocent person in prison, right, you not only do injustice to the families by having the wrong person incarcerated, you leave people out here who committed those crimes.
That's right.
That's right. That's right.
So,
There you go.
thank you.
Yeah, good point.
Moses, and then I'd like, if you don't mind, all the women and the women's organizations, the women that stand, have done all the work. Please gather around here. The guys will pull back.
While the woman's getting ready, we want to introduce a brother who's been at the headphone fight.
Is that okay?
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. What do we want here tonight? Today? Justice. When do we want it? Now. All right. Yes, I'm Roger Clark. I was wrongfully convicted in Brooklyn, and the same situation. I don't believe that this is benign neglect. This is deliberate indifference. The system for decades has been wrongfully convicted individuals, and they know it. You know what I'm saying? They got the proof right here. As we pass to repeat of 58, we are beginning to see hundreds of officers who prosecutors know that be lying in court. They go to court and they give false testimony, which is perjury. They refuse to convict them on perjury, and they still use those officers to maintain other convictions. The Bronx District Attorney has recently stated that some of those same officers have secured hundreds of convictions. So we need to stop that. If a police officer credibility is an issue, he should not be going on the witness stand to lie on individuals. You know what I'm saying? And one way that we could challenge all of this is to pass the Challenging Wrongful Conviction Act, which is a bill that Boca, New York is sponsoring, and Dan Quart spoke about it when he was here. Assemblymember Dan Quart and Senator Murray, they are the lead sponsors. This bill would change the way individuals who's wrongfully convicted challenge their conviction. The only way for somebody in jail or somebody who completed their sentence who was wrongfully convicted, the only way for them to actually challenge that conviction is through a law called Criminal Penal Law 440.10. And that law is rigid, it is full of holes, it is hardly nobody who submitted it gets passed. So with the Challenging Conviction Act, we asking them to give us a lawyer, to give us access to all of the evidence, to give us a hearing, which they summarily dismissed, to give us access to test, to give us a right to test the evidence against us, and last but not least, to make it a right to appeal it, because even the appeal process is messed up.
Yeah.
You know, so we need to be able to do that. We need to be able to have fair judges who is going to review these cases and come to the right conclusion. It is wrong for individuals who did not commit a crime to spend years, decades, and decades inside there. There is no reason for that. And I'll tell you,
once the bill is passed, and if we get fair judges, we are going to be number one in wrongful conviction, because there was thousands and thousands of people who's wrongfully convicted. Even those who may have committed a crime, prosecutor lied, cheated, and steal to gain the conviction. That's what I got.
All right, Roger, thank you. I'm going to introduce Sonny in a minute, some New Jersey's honorees, but I want to call the women up. Donna Hill, Nicole Hamilton. One thing about all the women that's fighting for somebody to get out. I want y'all to come up.
Yeah,
I
face
want
the
y'all to come
camera,
up.
thank you.
All
Yeah.
the women,
I want all the
can we
women.
have a moment where all the women that are impacted by the system, so we have a minute? The women that are on the down, all the women.
Grace. I want the women, gentlemen, step back a little bit. Let's put them in. I'm going to get out the way. Get out the way. Get out the way.
Face the cameras. Face the
I want y'all to
cameras.
understand, these are mothers, these are sisters,
That's
these are
right.
daughters.
That's right.
They're the backbone of gentlemen when they're in prison.
That's right.
Yes.
Let it be seen. Let it be known.
Even in prison.
Let it be seen.
Thank you.
This who suffered the most.
Thank you. Thank you, Terry.
This who hurt the most. The women, the family, the mothers.
This is the faces of
They have to
injustice.
deal with the system and coming to see their loved one and have to be harassed to get in.
This is what happens
To
when
be
they ignore
mistreated to
wrongful
get in.
convictions.
Discouraged
Let
to
them
get
tell their
in.
story. Right, let them tell their story.
Thank you, brother, for that. But I want to talk about the women and the young women, the youth that are incarcerated right now who are also wrongfully convicted. I'm standing here representing my organization, A Little Piece of Light, and we strongly support families and friends of the wrongfully convicted. Why? Because we are families and friends of the wrongfully convicted.
That's right.
I want to shout out right now my colleague, Betsy Ramos, who served 24 years in the criminal legal system for something she did not do. She served time for something that her partner did, but she served the time. I want to introduce Ms. Grace, who also has her own story. I want to shout out Pamela Smart, who can't be here with us today. She's the longest serving woman in New York State criminal system.
Take your time.
32 years. 32 years. Most of that I spent with her. 27 years that time I spent with her. Right. I want to shout out Nicole. I want to shout out all the women here or who are not here right now, because we don't recognize women who are in the system who've also been marginalized, criminalized, and wrongfully convicted. We don't talk about that. I heard the sister say, I heard you say clear. When you arrest a woman, you incarcerate a woman, you incarcerate a family. That's right. You do more than incarcerate a family. You incarcerate a whole society. What you do is perpetuate harm. You continue to do it. We know that this is an extension. We know it's an extension of slavery. We know it. We get it.
No question.
Unfortunately, like our brother said, that the people that look like us are doing the same thing. Darcel Clark, you're not one of us. No. You're not one of us. No. And everyone that continues to harm us, you're not one of us. I see the signs. Recognize the sign. Was it all just a campaign, or was it real for you? Did we vote you in to speak for us, or did we vote you in to stab us in the back?
Wow. That's right. Good question.
There's another sign. We voted you in, and we will vote you out.
All right.
There you go.
We are
That's
going
right.
to vote you out.
That's
We are
right.
tired. We are tired. Women are tired. We have been carrying this world on our backs and in our stomachs. We birthed this world. We demand the respect. I'm tired of us being a hashtag. That's right. I'm tired of us being a memory. I'm tired of us being an afterthought. The brother pulled up a chair. We're going to pull up a table.
There you go. That's what I'm talking
We're going to create
about.
our own table. Because we're tired. You don't see these women here in the cold for nothing. They're here because they want to be heard, and they need to be heard. And we're going to make sure you hear them. And if we do not get justice, what are we going to do?
Shut it down.
Shut it down. What are we going to do? Shut it down. What are we going to do?
Shut it down.
Does anybody have questions? Feel free to jump in.
Hi everyone, my name is Nicole Hamilton and I'm the wife of Trevor Hamilton, and I thank everybody for coming out. And I just want to say that I'm one of the co-founders of the Family and Friends of the Wrongfully Convicted, And this organization started while my husband was in prison, serving out his 25 to life sentence. And with the help of Ronnie Sorry, our public relations, we were able to actually have our first rally on City Hall steps back in 2004 when we first had our first rally. And we started with about 10 family members out there, and it was freezing cold. So just to see how the numbers have accumulated and we have volume of people is very good, and lets us know that our work still needs to be done, but that we are definitely making the community aware of all the wrongful convictions that are happening from state to state. And every single day when we turn on the news and we read the newspapers, we see that people are wrongfully convicted all over the world, mostly affected Hispanic and African Americans, but they are being released and coming back into society. But they're coming back into what? The criminal justice system still needs help. And we are here to let everyone know that we are watching them, and the people that we actually voted to be in office, you can be removed if you do not do your job.
There you go. That's right.
Since the incarceration of my husband, I started a support group called Suffering in Silence. And this support group consists of families and wives, mothers of people who are incarcerated. Because when I was going through incarceration with my husband, I had no one to lean on or no one to guide me or even to help me throughout my struggle. So I started this support group to be able to bring women and families together so we can lean on each other for support and to be there and help each other, because I know what the struggle is like. And although my husband is home now, I still remember the women and the people that are still struggling to bring their loved ones home. I have Fran Centel, mom right here, Miss Grace. Her son was arrested when he was 16 years old. And I'm going to let her tell her story about her son. Thank you, Nicole.
Great.
Thank you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Good morning.
I get very emotional when I speak about my son and his incarceration, because it's unfair. He was just a kid in high school. In high school. No, that's fine. In high school. And he was accused of a murder he didn't commit and was sentenced to 52 to life.
Wow.
And he currently did about 30. And we're trying to get him home. He doesn't belong in there. It's not fair. I recently went to see him. They sent him from Green Haven to Elmira, a draft. He was on a draft. They sent him further up north. 4 hours to go, 4 hours to come back. But you know what? It doesn't stop me. He's my son.
That's right.
If they send him to Timbuktu, I'll go visit. That's right. You know? But it's not fair, because we stood outside that facility for an hour and a half in the cold. It was cold upstate on last Wednesday.
We love Fran.
And we stood
Love
there,
Fran.
I could feel the coldness in my bones, and I had a jacket on. They won't let us go in. They're doing one at a time. And the line wasn't even long. They're just purposely doing it slowly.
Harassing people.
And, you know, and it's not right.
Free Fran
And
Centel.
it's not right. And I'm just saying, you know, that I would like my son to come home soon, because I'm 72. I'll be 72 in a week. On the 28th of this month is my birthday. I turn 72. I don't know how much time I have left on this planet, but I would like to spend some of it with my son. That's right. That's right. He was stolen from me at the age of 16 and was in the system, and I go visit him, it's true, but it's not the same as having him home.
Free Fran Centel.
Him home. Please let my son come home. It's not right what you guys are doing to him. He did his time for something he didn't do. Well, let him come home now. It's time. How much time do they need to take from him again? You know, I don't understand it. But please.
Women, thank y'all all. Thank y'all all. And I want the record to reflect that our son was 17 when he went to prison.
Yes, that's right.
The brain science matter says that adolescents, brain doesn't mature until they're 25.
That's right.
Right? Even if he was guilty, he should be released.
Right.
He should have never been given 52 years as a juvenile, as an adolescent. Right? He's in prison teaching programs. He's teaching men how to come out and live their lives and don't create public safety risks. He helped me. So why is he in there?
Right.
We talk about violence in the communities. He can come out and help stop that violence in the community.
Right.
And they
Right?
can reduce sentences.
Right, and they can reduce sentences.
The
prosecutor's office,
reduce sentences.
Exactly.
free Fran Centel. Ladies, thank you. You want to call some more honorees up? They did a great job. Free Fran Centel.
Free President.
Thanks, James.
We're civil.
Oh, great. You need it.
Come on, let's go.
What's up, everyone? I'm an organizer, so I'm going to make sure everyone can hear me, right? We had some calls to justice earlier. One thing I have not heard from all of the allies is that you will be voting and using your power. So we will
vote.
We will
vote.
A huge part of this moment is that this is a national crisis. My name is Carlene Pinto. I'm from New York City Action Lab. I came into this fight when I was 16, when my friend Angel Castro was given 12 years for something he didn't do. I watched every Friday on A to Z's when I used someone else's ID to go to Rikers. I watched correctional officers take cash from me to do exchanges for him to have a better life day to day at Rikers while he fought his case for 3 years. He went away, his mother died. I'm in SUNY New Paltz, and the seat I'm sitting on in my SUNY classroom was made in fish killed by him. That is the reality of people my age in my city. So it's not just people that we're looking around and we're thinking these people might be incarcerated and have a story. Every single community in our city has been impacted by this injustice. Make some noise.
Yeah, exactly.
I worked with the Riverside Church in Harlem with one of the longest standing prison ministries in the state. What I saw when I went behind bars is that we're watching the same level of injustice we see with officers on the street play out behind bars with our loved ones with no justice and no accountability. So when we're talking about this moment, we have to anchor the crisis right now at Rikers and all the wrongfully charged people that have yet to see a judge and be convicted, who we don't even know their names yet. So when I say close, you say Rikers. Close!
Rikers!
Close!
Rikers!
Close! Because if we know on the front end, the prosecutions are fudging these cases, we know that officers only get promoted if they got lots of bodies and lots of arrests, right? They have to solve cases. How are they solving cases, and in which boroughs are they using what metrics? Right now we know Letitia James is running for governor. People need to pay attention to what the law of this land could look like if we press forward right now and we scream that we will all vote. June's primaries are critical. T.A. Gonzalez may be running to be Attorney General. Between now and June, how many people can his unit release? Let's ask. Let's press forward. Let's commit to voting. I would love to vote for him if he hears the voters here today. I would love to elect someone that I can watch commit themselves to a cause I care about. But let's also anchor right now that Brian Benjamin, a Harlem State Senator, is our Lieutenant Governor. All of these things can happen through executive action and through the executive chamber. So today, we all have to commit to voting because these people with power are not making our lives a priority. These people in power are not making you a priority. That should make you mad. Everyone here should be committing to action. New York City Action Lab, reach out to us. We want to organize, educate, mobilize. These are the largest elections we will ever see in our lifetime happening right now on our watch. Mobilize your votes, everybody.
All right, yeah.
Come on, Sonny. You want to wait for me, right? And we got brother from the south. Let me get back out the way.
Yeah, we running live here.
In 1995, when I was 19
You
years
get a little
old,
space, bro. I'm running live. We running live.
the murder of a
Filming live.
4-year-old girl and shooting 4 other people for a crime not only did I not commit, but wasn't even present for. I ended up doing 18 and a half years and was released when I was almost 40 years old. My mom had a stroke, my dad had a stroke. He's currently in a wheelchair and they're still suffering from what happened. One of the things that I would like to point out is during these rallies that we had over the years, right, there was one specific moment that stands out. There was a moment where we came to speak and give a message similar to one that we're giving today. And a letter came from the district attorney's office, right, and they wanted us to call the rally off. They wanted to call the rally off. And to offset what we would say, they exonerated someone the day before the rally.
Wow.
So that just tells you, that tells you how strong, right,
Power to
that
people.
they feel.
Now, one of the things that I like to do is, this is definitely a step towards what we want to accomplish. But these are not people in the shadows. The people that do the dirt, they like to hide behind the system.
Yep.
Right? But they are people. They're names. So I was arrested by Louis Scarcella, and I was prosecuted by Jeffrey Levitt and Lance O'Gees. Those are the names that we need to pay attention to.
Right.
Because they did it to other people. I was locked up with Fran Santel. I was locked up with Derek Hamilton. I was locked up with this gentleman. I was locked up with this gentleman. All these people, we were upstate together for crime. We never had this conversation. We walked past each other. People don't talk about their cases, but one thing that they've proven is that they don't like attention. But what we have to stop doing is stop letting them hide in the dark. Say their names, right? Say the district attorney's names and hold them accountable, because that's what this is about.
Eric
accountability,
Gonzalez.
right? So say, Mr. Eric Gonzalez, you did X, Y, Z. That is wrong. Can you explain why you made those decisions? Exactly. And we have the right to hear that. And if the public demands, there's no organization, there's no entity in this country that's stronger than the people's voice.
There you go.
Right. That's
There's
right.
not one.
That's
So
right.
never think, oh, the district attorney's office
That's right.
or Washington, D.C., or what they doing in the Supreme Court. None of them are stronger than our voice.
That's right.
And
Right.
we've seen that, right, in George Floyd's death.
Yeah.
We've seen that. Not many law enforcement officials get convicted. We know that. But in that case, our voice is too strong. And we need to repeat that over and over and over again, right? Through the media, through movies, through books, and through music.
There you go.
You let them know. You let people be held accountable and let them answer. Use those names. Those people that convicted, all those district attorneys, don't say district attorney. Say their name.
Yep.
Say their name.
Right on flag.
Victor from the Child is coming up next, y'all. Victor from the Child. Thanks, Sonny.
Hello. My name is Henry Robinson. I'm from Catal. I live in Brooklyn, New York. I'm here today to speak on the issues that's going on. As I listen to everybody that talk, a lot of these people I was in prison with, a lot of them, they don't know me. A lot of them I'm getting to just see.
Remember you.
But one thing that we all got in common, that we all went through injustice while we was in the streets and in prison. The prison system is made to keep our people back. That's just the facts of life. It's modern day slavery.
Right.
So anything, the people that bring us there, they all part of it. They all part of that whole slavery movement. The police, the district attorney, the judge, whomever else, etc. The only way you're going to be able to get out of any situation is you have money. That's it. That's all they care about is money. You'll get a little bit of justice if you have money. A lot of us, if we had better lawyers, we would have probably never been wrongfully convicted.
Right.
But we shouldn't even be in that situation from the get-go. The DA, I apologize. My mind is running crazy. I apologize. All right, so district attorneys have so much power. Too often when they review criminal cases, they are aiding and abetting police officers in wrongful convictions. District attorneys should not weaponize their powers to keep a certain kind of people, especially black people, in the criminal justice system. And that's what's going on. I did 8 years up north. I did 2.5 years in the federal system. Right now, I'm trying to get my case overturned like these individuals. And the feds, what they asking for, they have this in the feds. Whereas when you get convicted, you have somebody to look over the conviction. The judge is supposed to look over the conviction.
They ain't doing a good job.
They not even doing that on the federal level. So a lot of times when we ask it, oh, go to the feds and do this and go to this person, go to that person. The same thing is going to happen in every area because we are not a people that they want, period. We came here on slave ships. We came here to work for them, not to be equals or even to become better than them. They give us certain of us opportunities to make us believe that we have opportunity. They studied our brains. They understand how we move. They understand the majority of black people. We understand this. They studied our brains. They know what to do to appease us. To make us be like, all right, yeah, thank you for giving me that, and turn our head and walk away. This is why we've been doing the same thing for 400 years. It's going to keep going as long as we keep doing the same thing over and over. Anytime we want to make change, we have to come in numbers. That's the only way it's going to make a change. That's the only way they're going to hear us. They're not going to hear one of us. They're not going to hear 10 of us. They're not going to hear 100 of us. It got to be 100,000, 500. It got to be a lot of people, though, to make any kind of change where the whole world is looking. Because when you bring a lot of attention to the nonsense they doing, they don't want that. They don't want that at all, because then the jig is up. Then everybody see what they doing, and now they not getting no more money. They not getting no more nothing. We have to change the way we go about these people.
Thanks. We want to thank you, Henry. We got the young lady coming up next. We got after her, we got the New Jersey Coalition that came out. I want to call them up.
My name is Arlene Normal. I'm the mother of Sean Ryan. 43 years in prison.
Wow.
Wrongful conviction.
Free Sean Ryan.
Okay. Free Sean Ryan now.
Free Sean Ryan. That's right.
This is America.
That's right.
We're supposed to be people of goodness and freedom.
That's right.
Let's get it together.
43 years too much.
43 years went in the day after his 19th birthday, okay?
Wow.
Is that his co-defendant admitted the first statement at the trial, I am the killer. I killed the man. Sean was with me, okay? My son was too young and inexperienced to know that he should have taken a plea. He's 6 years in, and the Department of Corrections sent his co-defendant, the actual killer, into the same prison where he was firebombed. Wow. My son was the one that was accused of it, okay? He did not do it. He had an appeal, and that appeal was sealed tight. And for some reason, it was not sent in on time.
Oh, no.
This is a long history. He's got a winning case, and he has to get the hell out of here.
Free Sean Ryan.
Free
Sean Ryan. I want to call the New Jersey Coalition up. Go ahead, read the poem.
Folks, I have copies of this. My son wrote this. Buried alive, concrete and steel tomb, sepulchral room, cold and desolate cell, man-made hell, dehumanizing isolation to solitary confine, psychological deterioration, penological design, soul-destroying emptiness, hollowed-out shell, depressive loneliness, alone where I dwell, ideation, realization, haunting sound, self-asphyxiation, spirit never found, wide-awake nightmare, broad daylight, insane cackle, dark of night, ephemeral visage, scattered thoughts, kaleidoscopic images, departed, long lost, miserable existence, mind takes flight, mental transcendence, evanescent respite. Sean Ryan, March.
Free Sean Ryan. Free Sean Ryan. I'm honored to introduce Rodney Roberts, Ron Hill, Mike Jones. They came from New Jersey to support this cause. Come up, brother. Honorees.
Hello, my name is Rodney Roberts. I spent 17 years wrongfully in prison, in New Jersey prison. I was exonerated in 2014 by DNA evidence. And since my release, it's been a struggle to stand on the front line with these brothers, Trevor Hamilton, Deskovic, and Shabak Shakur, and Sanji, and countless of other brothers and sisters to fight against the social injustice of wrongful imprisonment. This is another pandemic. This is another crisis.
Right.
Not just, it affects everyone. And I stand here not to talk about myself and look for anyone to look at me, because I stand here to represent those voices that can't be heard, that remain in prison. I stand with the families of that. I stand with the brothers and sisters that came out, because I can remember how my family suffered and how they felt going through the same ordeal. We have an issue of social justice issue concerning prosecutorial
misconduct. We have also an issue with judicial misconduct. And
Right.
we have an even more serious issue with ineffective system counsel. All those things combined form a trifecta of a perfect storm of injustice. I'm here to say that standing on the front line, advocating against wrongful conviction, social injustice, I refuse to let it be ignored, and I refuse not to be heard. Because those people, those families that need us, that those of us who have experienced that turmoil, and those of us who fight in the front line to bring awareness to that turmoil, have to be their voice as well. We have to put a face, a real face, on an issue that plagues this country. And with that said, and knowing why I'm here, why we're here in New Jersey, fighting for different legislation, coming to New York, I wear this hat, Brooklyn, in honor of Ken Thompson, who I met, who I spent time with, who I spoke to, who encouraged me, who was a great man. And for anyone to come in that office and not follow that pattern of greatness is a disgrace to that office.
Exactly.
So that's why I'm primarily here, but my main voice is to let the people know that we are here and I'm here to support. Thank you.
Thank you. You want to say something? Teron, what y'all want to speak?
How y'all doing? My name is Teron Hill. I just spent the last 17 years in New Jersey State Prison trying to prove my innocence to a criminal justice system that refused to admit that they had it wrong. I am exceedingly grateful for what's happening here today. I regained unlimited access to the world, but if we're being perfectly honest with each other, injustices like these clearly didn't start and end with me. There are a number of men in New Jersey State Prison actually innocent that I left behind. Rasheed Walker, actually innocent. Richard Barge, actually innocent. Stephon Downer, actually innocent. Lance Alfred, actually innocent. DeJuan Dennis, actually innocent. Craig Scott, actually innocent. Manfred Younger, actually innocent. What's consistent in all of these cases is the combination of shady police work and the relentless pursuit of an overzealous prosecutor looking to shape his career on the backs of the underserved, undeveloped, and the have-nots. These elements have become a formula of injustice. So I challenge the entire criminal justice system to get it right. Free the actually innocent. Thank y'all.
I want to say, if I can, that Teron Hill was the first case in New Jersey in the CRU unit that they developed. We got him exonerated. There's many more cases, like he said. But more than Teron, Mike Jones, a young man, was arrested. They accused this man of giving heroin and fentanyl to a young white woman right here in Manhattan. The medical examiner told the prosecutors that she died from 12 different drugs in her system. And even if Mike was the person that gave her the drugs, he could not be charged for that because she had 12 drugs, not 2 drugs in her system. The power of the family, rich, white, influence, contacted the U.S. attorney and convinced the federal government to charge this young man with killing that young woman. We had to go to trial. They tried to convince this man not to believe us, his defense team, to take 5 years. He refused. His courage is why he got exonerated. So I want to introduce Mike Jones. I want young men and women who face the same situation like him to have courage and stand up.
That's right.
He's free because of his courage.
There you go.
All right, so I just want to also introduce some exonerees that's here and standing in the back. Deontay, come up. A big fighter, a lawyer, justice, my brother.
All right.
Say a few words, brother. Let them know what you do. Talk.
My name is Keon Stevie. I just came out of court and happened to catch the rally. See all my people here. I'm a criminal defense attorney. I handle other cases as well. I served 9 years in prison before I was able to prove that someone else had committed the crime. So you see, everything I hear, a lot of things I hear that it's pandemic, that it affects everyone, and it's just way too numerous across the board. I'm right here to say so as well. Thanks.
Repeat your name?
Keon.
Anybody else we missing? Oh, forgive me, y'all, forgive me.
My name is Emmanuel Cooper. I'm from Brooklyn, New York. I was recently exonerated last year. I did 27 years in prison for a crime I didn't commit. I'm here today to support the wrongfully convicted And free Anthony Sims.
Free Anthony Sims. Tom Hoffman, who's back there hiding, y'all. Come on up, Tom. Who is lawyer. He has exonerated a lot of people in Queens. Tom don't want to talk. We're going to put him on the spot, though. Come on up, Tom.
Hey, Tom.
These are not wrongful convictions. I don't use that word. These are murders.
Speak up, brother. Go ahead. Tell me who you are. Who you here for?
Good afternoon. My name is Robert Bueno, and I'm the nephew of Jesus Michael Jova. And he's been in prison for 27 years. Right. And people that are wrongfully convicted, when they leave, it leaves a big hole in the heart of our families. And that's passed on generation by generation because we're all like, because it like breaks us, you know? So,
Good time, bro. Good time.
So, we can, the Lord says that revenge is His. So, though we're angry at these people, our time on earth, like the 80, 90 years that we're here, it's gonna be like a grain of sand compared to all of eternity. So, anger, like holding in that anger, like I definitely struggle with that, but that's another burden that we put on our back, and let's just keep hoping and let's keep voting in the right people. And a lot of terms were said here that I didn't understand because I'm not really familiar, but I would love to learn more and try to vote the right people in so these people can have justice.
All right, amen. Free Jesus Jova.
Free Jesus Jova.
Free Jesus Jova.
Free Jesus Jova.
Free Jesus Jova. Well, we got a few other brothers who want to speak. Want to come on? A few other brothers want to speak. We're going to close it up.
Because I did 2 years and I never stopped fighting. And there's a lot of families that's still fighting. So faith always got to be there. And we don't talk about the mental problems that goes on with, being incarcerated. So it's very important, for families to understand, to meditate, breath. That's the stuff that kept me insane with myself. Being in tune with yourself, your body, your mind, and your spirit. Never lose yourself going through this situation.